but yeah, I kind of like it. Okay, we're going to hear next from someone that Lori probably, well, that she has something in common with, is they've both been coming to Ghost Town since the very first. So let's hear from Jim Martin. Come on, Jim. It's an honor. We need to give awards or badges or something.
We had a little thing coming here today. I was the first one in. She was the second one.
There you go.
I have two things that I'm going to read. One is mine, and one is mine, and one is not. There's an Italian poet that I really like. His name is Eugenio Montale, and his work was translated into English by different people, and I just found a book that has his work in Italian, and on one side, on the left side, and English on the right. And I thought, well, Angelique comes here, and if you know Angelique, she comes and she reads in Spanish, and then she reads it in English. And I thought, I'm going to do that, but I'll do it in Italian, because Italian is like a second language, or third, or fourth, or fifth. And I'm really interested in the guy who translated the Italian to English and the Italian-English book, lives in New York. And his translations are very literal, word for word. The one who did the small book I have of Montale's poems, she didn't write a lot of poetry. Antonino Mazza is from southern Italy, from Calabria. And if you know southern Italians, or if you ever know a person from Calabria or southern Italy, their Italian is very different from in the north, where Montale lived. But he did, I think he translated the Italian in a way it should be translated to English to say what Montale was thinking and feeling as he wrote. So I'll read the whole thing first in Italian and then in English. And this is in a section of the book on the Mediterranean, so he's speaking to the Mediterranean Sea. And most of his poetry, he speaks to a mountain, to a tree, to something concrete. Avrei voluto sentirmi scabre essenziale se come I ciottoli di tu vovi. Mangiati dalle sassedine, ceci a fuori del tempo, testimoni di una volontà fredda che non passa. Altro fui, uomo intento che riguarda in sé, in altrui, in valore, della vita fugace, uomo che tarda all'alto, che nessuno può distruggere. Vuole cercare il male che tarda il mondo, la piccola struttura di una leva che arresta. L'ordine universale e tutti i viventi del minuto, come pronti a disingersi in un crollo, seguito il solco di un sentiero vedi. L'ha posto in cuore col suo invito, e forse nel cuore il coltello che si uccide, la mente che decide e si determina, altri libri occorrevano a me, non la tua pagina volante. Ma nulla so rimpiangere, tu stioli ancora i colpi interni col tuo canto. Il tuo delirio sali agli astri ormai. Stumble. And then the English. I should have liked to have felt rough and essential, like the pebbles that you roll, gnawed through by the salt, splinter outside time, witness to a cold will, that does not come to pass. I have been other, man absorbed, who contemplates in himself, in others, the flurry of life's passing. Man who hesitates before the act that then annihilates no one. I wanted to search for the pain that afflicts the world, the tiny twist of the lever that brings the universal order to a halt, and keep seeing all the events of the minute as if on the verge of breaking up in one collapse. Having followed the groove of one path, lured by another, I set myself on the opposite course, and perhaps I should have had recourse to the knife that severs, the mind that decides and impels itself. Other books I would have need for, not your thunderous page. So he's speaking to the Mediterranean, to the ocean. But I do not know how to regret all this. You continue to untie even now with your singing internal knots. Your raving mounts to the stars already. Okay. And I was thinking about this and about Montale and what he seems to be interested in. And he sees that poets are searching, in his words, for some precise truth, not for a general truth. So in our poetry, it seems that, at least in his mind, we are focused on some precise piece of truth, not something general. I don't know if that's true. But I like his writing, and so I wrote about that idea of his. What is the truth of the rose? Is it true that the rose does grow and flowers in the spring? Is it true that one dislikes the rose that is red, while the other knows a rose not by its color or pattern or shade, but by its scent? What makes a truth for you, but not for me? Is it a fundamental truth that the thing itself is true, but not its experience by me? And how experience? How is it that this human process, neural perception, can separate, acts to separate your experience from mine, your thoughts from mine? How in a finite world can there evolve an infinite bouquet of truths about things which are only true to themselves?
Thank you, Jim. Next, Jennifer Pratt-Walter. Come on up, Jennifer.
To read one of my favorite ones that I've ever written tonight. It's from 2012, and it's called If You Find Yourself Camping Under Friendly Stars. If you find yourself camping under friendly stars, ask them what you truly are. Be ready. They might say, "This is someone spectacular. This person is a gift but doesn't know it yet." If you find yourself camping, let the wild deer graze across the fields of your heart, their velvet eyes looking right into the soul's window in recognition. If you find yourself, tie yourself down gently with a long ribbon of love. Let yourself out like a kite into the wind until the stars swim out to meet you. All right, well, relationships form a large part of my inspiration for poems. So here's one of those love things. When flying to England. When in the air, you see important things differently. You wearing the pink glow that is the balance of my love. Once I would have given my life for yours. And if things line up properly, when the hungry world insists, I still my hand gently warmed over to your asking arms. Fires and bones, blood and breath are woven into an altar of simple, magnificent devotion. It's the land of my love, wearing the reverence of your true name. It is my religion. My road is pulsing with the prayers and poems of an unceasing heart. Find me when the need turns pink. So I thought of that in an airplane flying to England. And then my last one, I've met very many courageous people along the way that don't know what a big impact they can have, even when they think they might be unworthy or unfit. So this is called Courage is How You Move. Sometimes courage is all that's left after breaking. You are my heroes, you who love all the pieces when most cannot. Sometimes courage is how you move when leaping, arms outstretched, your fingers feeling all those brash new powers, your face wearing all the right courageous shapes, whether you rise into your bravery or topple into love. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. David Bung, is it Bunge? Benj? B-E-N-G-E. Benj. David.
It's probably good, huh? Thank you. I have two things to read. They're both about my rather tenuous relationship to my family and my native land of North Carolina, from which I immigrated totally legally and with full points many years ago. Man, you're nothing in this country if you don't toe the line. This is, the one thing you need to know about this is that I'm a diabetic, and my family sends me syringes and supplies to save me money sometimes. So you need to know that to sort of understand the beginning. And the other thing is I need to acknowledge a fellow poet that I recently discovered named Paul Guest for inspiration for the format of this. And this is called Regret Letter Home. Thanks for the stock of syringes with which to inject my memory with a crude homesickness. As if a tiny prick to the skin would bring me to my senses and bring me back home again. There is nothing but pain in the shots, in the thoughts, in the times when I felt home was an all-encompassing safety net, cocoon, water hazard, warm dumpling recipe for guaranteed success and fertility. As if. The blind cascade through higher education taught me that love can always end, facts can always change, and my true self is a blob projected by the eyes of everyone who sees me, which is no one, because I'm not worth noticing. Or so I thought when I boarded the flight that would sail me through decades of grief. And the message I heard from across the miles was not, I miss you, but you were wrong to put us through this and think you could find your happy in a teaspoon of foreign honey. Of all the sense I've made of my finger on the pulse of history, one thing has become clearest of all, that I matter only due to the mistakes I've made. Still, regret is missing like a vaccine that would save me, as I course through the bloodstream of all who are glad I am gone. Do you have any other Southerners here? Okay. You might get this. I'm not sure how far fireflies get, lightning bugs.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Lightning bugs,
Well, if they were more than Eastern, I'm not sure how far they.
Yeah.
Okay. Fireflies lit up those nights like a skyrocket summer parade. so that I could see every doubt on your young, pale face that this world could last or count for joy. Except they weren't fireflies, they were lightning bugs, as any true Southerner could attest, who hasn't been attacked by the misery and greed of escape. And it wasn't you either, but me who was wise to some mystery of time that would take us far away and long removed from the reasons we had to stay young. This latest beer is as bitter as the taste that sometimes takes me back for more, and I can see the glow if I want to and sweat the heat of the nights we wore like smiles on smooth skin. But I always miss the faces, the reunions, and the point of swearing it would never end, couldn't end, like a war that shakes the world full of holes, or names that are forgotten like scars.
There go on my tippy toes. As you know, our feature tonight is Sean Aaron Bowers. We're going to have one more reader before we bring him on. And I want to introduce our next reader to you, Nathan Tompkins. Nathan, come on down.
This is called The Tide. The water rises inland from the sea, waxing with the moon as she flies blind in a thin funeral shroud. And I think I could work the night digging a reinforced concrete fallout shelter in one of her asteroid craters, where the sun's heavy groping light could never expose my fat naked body. And I could hide from the television, the computer, you. The next one I wrote about a couple months ago thanks to a prompt, and suddenly became relevant thanks to two small dick man babies fighting each other over Twitter and the media. So, called The Time of Duck and Cover. In the time of Duck and Cover, they taught us ICBM stars catapulted from the evil east would incinerate Fairchild, and radioactive ash drops would poison mountain winds. In the time of Duck and Cover, they taught us to hide beneath our school desks, hands woven to the back of our necks, preventing hot broken glass from shattering our arteries. In the time of Duck and Cover, they taught us to never watch the sun explode on the earth, as it would burn our corneas before painting our shadows across the sidewalks. In the time of Duck and Cover, I'd weep nightmares into my pillow every night, wondering when I'd be incinerated or watch my hair fall out as I bled from my mouth. Heatwave dreams are back now, and there will be no cowering in fallout shelters from this time of Duck and Cover. Earlier this year, Thought Crime Press put out a call for this Not Our President anthology, and I submitted, and knowing that it would have no chance, and I was surprised when I got the acceptance. And it's going to be an exciting, Chris is in it, Amanda Palmer's in it, quite a few others, including the Washington poet laureate. Todd Marshall, yeah. It's called Emigration. My best friend R once told me her pregnant mother hid in the near suffocating heat of a semi's engine compartment to cross the Mexican border, so she could be born a citizen, economic refugees chasing a dream, much like those faceless fruit names hanging from my own family tree. But now, a small man has his orange hands up Lady Liberty's copper green dress while he blows out her symbolic torch, smothering the fires in her own eyes. And now her arms shake with PTSD and anxiety, no longer open to fold to her mother's breast, the hungry, the poor, the masses yearning to be free. And now she whispers names to ICE, sings them on the New York salt breeze, accompanied by a 6-string acoustic guitar, like Burl Ives once sang to Joe McCarthy. Now, refugees fear they knock on the door, live by muffled voices and candlelight, huddled in ghetto basements, ever listening for bootsteps on the floorboards. They flee their promised land, this country of opportunity, risking arrest and deportation or worse. And now the frostbitten fingers sometimes fight through snowbanks that hot wall our kinder border. R says she still hunts the dream along pockmarked train tracks, nailed to an ebbing sand tide. This single mother, her 40-hour work week, her evening classes. And she says when she wakes in the dark, when sleep is scarce and early morning shadows amplify the imagination, she listens for the bootsteps on the floorboards and swears she hears the knock. Thank you.